Terror in Tannertown is the 10th episode of the 4th season of Full House. This is directed by Joel Zwick, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it's a pretty fun episode. It starts off with Michelle and Jessie and Becky, and Becky wants Jessie to wear this hat for the wedding. Jessie doesn't want to wear it. Michelle is rather adorable. It's a nice way to start things off. And then we meet Cindy, who's played by Debra Stipe, and she is Danny's new girlfriend. They only met 2 weeks ago, so it does seem very early for Danny to be introducing her to the girls. It definitely seems too early, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But nevertheless, this is what's happening, and he tells Cindy, why don't you come over for dinner, meet the family, bring your son, and he's really looking forward to this. And then everybody in the household is lined up in order of height, including Comet, and they sing Do Re Mi, which I absolutely love. And then Cindy and Rusty arrive. Rusty is her son. He's played by Jordan Christopher Michael, and he seems initially like a very sweet child. And we learn very quickly that that's not the case. He is a prankster. And I really get a sense that they had a lot of fun writing this episode, coming up with these pranks. I hate pranks. I hate practical jokes, cannot stand them. And yet I found this episode to be quite entertaining. And I think that's largely because Rusty is actually quite likeable in his mischievous ways. And I was keen to see what the next prank would be, and it is definitely very creative. It starts off at the dinner table. Somebody unscrewed the salt shaker, and then a bit of milk spills. So Danny goes up to get a cloth to clean it up, and the entire table basically falls to the floor because somebody took the tablecloth into his trousers. How did Rusty manage to do that without Danny noticing? I have no idea, but that's what happened, and obviously everything on the tablecloth tumbles down to the floor in a pretty dramatic scene, and it worked well. It seems like Rusty is about to be nice. He offers DJ and Stephanie some gum. It turns out the gum made their teeth black. He then plays ball with Danny, but throws the ball far. Danny gets covered in mud, and he then does a trick that actually I thought was pretty clever. I don't like tricks and jokes, but this amused me. He tied something to Jessie's door handle, and then we see that he'd also tied the same rope to DJ and Stephanie's door handle. So obviously, when one of them is trying to open the door, the other door closes, and it goes back and forth. And honestly, I thought it was pretty well done. He then records over Joey's tape, which I think is a step too far, because you can't undo that. You can't get back the tape that he's erased over. So that I didn't agree with. And then we do have a little moment where he seems to be quite nice, very briefly, because he's setting up all of these pranks, and Michelle picks up the kaleidoscope and looks through it. And I knew what was going to happen because it's happened to me. I have fallen victim to the kaleidoscope trick before. And it puts a black ring around her eye. But Rusty, when he saw her in the kitchen, was about to tell her, no, that's not for you. And then when she has the black ring on her eye, he immediately shows her the reflection in the toaster, which I thought was quite fun. And I like the fact that he realised he loves pranks, but with Michelle being so young, he didn't really want to do that. And maybe he has a heart, after all, when it comes to little kids. At least it's good to know he has a limit, he has a boundary. And then Danny comes down from showering. Of course, he was caked in mud, so he had to go in the shower. And he has green hair. And we realise that Rusty has been doing all of this because he doesn't want his mother to be with anybody else. He says, and I quote, "Someday my mom and dad are getting back together." And that doesn't excuse everything he's doing, but I think it does offer a valuable explanation that he's just trying to push everybody away because he doesn't want anybody to fill the void that he feels his father has left when his father moved out or they got divorced or whatever has happened there. And I think it's probably not unique to Rusty. I imagine a lot of children will behave in a similar way. So it definitely helps to show that, yes, a child might be mischievous, they might be badly behaved, but one could argue that more often than not, there is a reason behind it that's quite emotional. And I think Danny does a really good job of talking to Rusty on his level, and I think Danny handled things as well as could be. But then we end with some comedy. We lift things back up as the girls get their own back on Rusty, and it was a nice, more light-hearted way to end things. So I think it's a really fun episode, but with a moving theme behind it of a young boy who is struggling to come to terms with the fact that his parents are separated. Not only is he acting out in response to that, which is quite a common response to divorce, but he's acting out in a way that's going to in theory, prevent people or a potential partner from getting close to his mother. So it all makes a lot of sense once we find out the reality behind his actions. But it is ultimately a very fun episode and unpredictable as well, but a little bit more moving and meaningful as well. Terror in Tannertown is a pretty brilliant episode of Full House.